I'll be honest, for a series that I don't really think I fit the demographic, I really am kind of mind-blowingly impressed how much I enjoyed this. Like, for real, for real. I'm ready to talk about the new series, First Kill. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the series First Kill, which is coming to Netflix June 10th. There's 8 episodes, they're an hour each, and I tell you, I had fun with this one. I wasn't expecting to have this much fun. I was intrigued, but I wasn't expecting to have as much fun as I did with this series. Easily, this is a teen drama. So for the demographic, I'm talking about the folks who love Riverdale, for the folks who love Twilight, and anything that's kind of in that realm of things. I can almost even throw Buffy in there to an extent. But yeah, why I may enjoy those series and films and titles, shall I just say, I'm really not the pointed demographic, because for me, I'm kind of like, it doesn't do anything for me. Especially because when you kind of look from it through an adult scope in terms of some of the decisions that these kids are making, you start to pass judgment like, hey, I would never do anything like that. But once upon a time we did. So like, I can enjoy it, still not being the pointed demographic, I think, for this as well, in target audience. But yeah, it's easily a teen drama, but it's enjoyable. First thing that jumps out to me is the soundtrack. It is soundtrack heavy, and it really truly elevates every moment. The drama, the suspense, the action, the soundtrack is really, really solid in this. And then I think at core, what this series is about is very familiar. It's much like Twilight minus the triangle. If it was only a pair, but I'll talk about it in a second, because you have it's basically in another comparison, it's basically like a modern version, a queer version of Romeo and Juliette, because you have these two young ladies who come from different families, different legacies, and different levels of expectation that actually found attraction in one another, although there's no reason that they should work, because you have one who's coming from a family of monster hunters, and she's trying to get her first kill, so trying to start and solidify her place in the family. And then you have another one who comes from a family of vampires, a legacy family of vampires, who is also trying to get her first kill, but also trying to stay out of sight, off the grid, not off the grid, but just in plain sight, but not noticeable, because they're being hunted, and obviously by folks who are monster hunters. And there's beyond vampires, there's ghouls, goblins, all that other stuff. So there truly are all different types of monsters in this. Speaking of that, the practical effects of the monsters was cool. The CGI was just not good, like at all. It was beyond noticeable CGI with the visuals with these monsters, and it's just kind of down bad, like, honestly. But I will say, in terms of like the toning and production, like Riverdale, it feels like a CW show with just a better production and budget. So like, yeah, for folks who love those series, I think you will like. If you like Riverdale, I think you will like something like this as well too. Pretty much the same tone, same teen audience, just and also the whole thing of being very music heavy, same exact thing. Just I think a better production, maybe even a better story. Riverdale's pretty good, but like, yeah, I think this is obviously not a knockoff version of any sort, so trying to copy. I think this also has a very good story in its own. I also will say that in terms of like the action in this, like the ghouls aren't like the putties Power Rangers, like they actually do fight back. So like the choreography within the fighting was pretty solid. I was definitely impressed by our two female leads in their choreography. They actually have a really good fight scene amongst one another that I thought was pretty cool as well too. But yeah, in terms of just like understanding the purpose of this series, is that you have both of these young ladies coming from completely polar opposite families who are both trying to get their first kills, and with the pressures from their family, they do kind of find a common ground in terms of both wanting to sort of like, appease their family, but also kind of do things their own way. Like, yeah, they get it. They want to have their first kill, but there's so much pressure behind them to do so. And they just want to do their own thing. And that's where they kind of find peace in one another, but also the attraction. And so that's what makes them special. You know how kids are. The more and more pressure you put on them, the more and more they rebel. And that's what you get with the two of them, because that's what they're doing. Juliette and Cal as the two young ladies who they just, considering all of the lineage behind both of their families, that pressure, in order to like keep the family legacy strong and fulfilling your prophecy, but yet with all that pressure that actually turns them away from their family and whatnot. And then Juliette is dealing with like a sort of a different pressure because she's a vampire, but she's, trying to fit in, but also trying not to stand out, because if she is, if she's exposed to she's a vampire, that's a whole new target, not only just on her, but her family. And also just pressure with her family in terms of getting her first kill, because while she's kind of like supplemented with blood pills, they actually want her to have her first kill to drain their first human and turn somebody. So she's like a daywalker blade. But yeah, at the same time, like, once Cal and Juliette first meet each other, they are fully aware of who they are, and they have a very, very, let's say, not good first date because of a change of things that kind of happen. So yeah, so basically you have a story of love versus family desires, monster versus hunter sort of dynamic and whatnot. And like, again, going back to the special effects, like I said, like, there was times where it was good, but there was time where the CGI was bad, and then the blood was kind of just very noticeable, not real sort of looking blood and whatnot. Maybe that was on purpose and whatnot, but like, when you kind of focus in those sorts of different things, you kind of get taken out a little bit. But I also think the drama in this is so heavy, and really how they connecting everything together, I thought was really good. And I'll be totally honest, I was truly only interested in Juliette's and Cal's relationship. Like, everything else with the family and whatnot, I was kind of over it until they got towards like deeper into the season. But that's fine, because the two of those young ladies, they absolutely carried the series. I thought they did a good job in delivering the drama, the stakes of everything, the tension, and so on. So like, yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. Beyond that too, it's a lot of lessons in this. Opposites attracting, being a black sheep to their family, and just how that brings them to common ground. And could the two of them actually, be sort of the cure between the war between the two families and whatnot? Because yeah, you have the Burns families, who are the monster hunters, and the Fairmont family, who are the legacy vampires. And with them being the legacy vampires, they have a special set of abilities, not like traditional vampires. They got a little bit of tweaking to their abilities that works towards their advantage, and that's why they're easily able to hide in plain sight, which I've been trying to say this entire time. But yeah, it's basically these two young ladies who are rebelling against their family, and obviously questioning the system, and how important is it to have your first kill? Is it truly important? What if everything you always thought you wanted, but you actually didn't, type of thing? And with their family having preset plans for them, they're trying to carve out their own path, but that also causes betrayal. So, it's interesting in its own, seeing where these two young ladies kind of band together, also kind of ripped apart at times, with the family being involved, the war around it, the town folks around it. There's a lot that goes on, but overall, it's just it's a very entertaining story. And because you have these two young ladies, and then the queer representation of it, this series is definitely queer heavy, which is really cool. But I love the idea that like they don't make it such a big thing, like, oh my god, a girl likes a girl. That's never an issue at all. The issue is between where the two families, the difference between their families, how one, has their whole legacy is after monsters and vampires, and then the other ones are just a legacy group of vampires. And what does it mean for them to continue to pass that legacy down in their family and whatnot? It's never ever became a story of a woman loving another woman, and that's an issue. It's always about the difference of the family. So I do love like the queer representation and how it wasn't like, you know, exploited like, oh my God, look at this, you know what I mean? So that was really cool. But like I said, you know, much like Twilight, you know, what if Jacob and Edward was attracted to one another? That's what this story is, and how the difference of the family and how their love for one another can completely be destructive, or it could actually bring peace, but we don't know. But much like they said, it's definitely a queer take on Romeo and Juliet, and I think that was really dope. And hey, I'll be honest, I'm down for season 2. I thought this one told a really good story, a really entertaining story for this first season. I actually want to see where they can go beyond this. So yeah, I think a lot of people are going to like this. It's Pride Month, so I think it's perfect timing for the release. And overall, I think for the folks who love Riverdale, the folks who love Twilight, the folks who love Buffy, anybody who likes a good vampire story title or whatever it may be, I think this new sort of refreshing take of a title in the vampire genre, I think this works. I think it definitely works. So check it out. First Kill, available on Netflix June 10th. Jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about it when you do, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.